Why, hello there. Hopefully everyone can hear me. Uh, wasn't expecting quite as many people. I heard that perhaps I got linked on Reddit somewhere. I hope y'all know we're just watching the announcement trailer and hanging out, having a good time, chatting Elden Ring for a few minutes. If you've watched any of my trailer watches, some people suggested just doing a live version, and here we are. So, hello everyone. Hopefully you can hear me. Hey, yeah, yeah. I see a few people dropped off. I don't want anyone coming in with the the wrong uh, thought about what's happening here. We're just hanging out. I just thought it'd be fun to do this with people. So yeah, we'll just do a live. We'll just chat a bit. This would be like every other episode. If you haven't seen them, go check them out. Maybe you'd have a good time with that. But yeah, so I thought, if anyone had any questions, any topics they wanted to talk about, I could throw something out. I was just curious when Elden Ring actually releases. Uh, you know, what are y'all plans? Like, I'm thinking I'm going to try and take a week off of work, depending if I can do it. And I have a family, so it's not like I'll be playing straight through, but planning on having a fun week, diving into the game, trying to think of ring-shaped foods to enjoy, see if the marketing suggests anything else to do during the week. But just curious what everyone else, if you have plans or if you're just gonna wait and see, figure out, because who knows at this point when that'll be happening. But just to see what everyone's, yeah. Yeah, I really hope it comes out on like a Friday because that would make it so much easier. Because, depending on projects, my day job is an architect, and depending where I'm at in a project, it may not be realistic to take like a week for it, but, a Friday would obviously give you the weekend and then take as many days as I can, but, something like that would be awesome. And, Skyok asked what type of weapon you'll be using in Elden Ring. It's a good question. It kind of depends a little bit how, all that like horse mechanic stuff works. What's going on there, and then but I tend to use like strength weapons. I'm pretty boring. It's like I love the Zweihander, so probably find something Zweihander-ish. It really depends on the mechanics though, and depending how much like stealth, if there is any stealth stuff, like that could influence me because I love some stealth, so that might push me more towards something sneakier. But I don't know what's happening on the subreddit right now. I know that there's something about like they changed a little bit of code and graphics on like a website, and that's causing people to get excited. But I've not heard that anything should be. My stance right now, and it could be wrong, is April. My hopes are April to see some new information. I'm not expecting anything before then, and that's just an educated guess, but we'll see. But yeah, I had heard that there was something linked there, and I was worried some people thought that this was, uh, you know, something. And yeah, I would love for, yeah, please Bamco, please send me the newest trailer to show to my 3,000 subscribers. And at this point, I'm just hoping maybe I'll be lucky enough to get a review code. I'm not really thinking they're gonna drop a trailer with me. That's give that to, they'll handle that themselves. But yeah, so what's sort of, yeah, I think April, yeah. And, we are going hollow, but that's why I'm doing this. That's why I'm hanging out, just to spend a little bit of time today having some fun, just hanging out together, especially in this quarantine world. Doing a little digital hangout, watch the trailer. I think it's a good time. That's building a nice community here is just a fun time. Just and when the game comes out, we'll enjoy it together. And I think that's kind of nice. As much as the last year in silence has sucked, it is nice to, you know, have stuff like this to look forward to. Gives you something to enjoy. Yeah, you know, I'm really, so my thing with like E3 is it's very possible, but like I'm really hoping before E3 because April, I'm kind of putting my hopes on April because any later, and I'm hanging by a thread that 2021 will be a release date as it is. And if we don't hear stuff by like mid-April, I really think we're looking at a 2022, spring 2022. So, you know, that's kind of why April is my hope right now. As it is, I think unless there's a really big financial reason, like they could give it until the end of the financial year, which has, it's spring of whatever year. So that's why From tends to release their games in spring anyways, because that's like their last thing so that they can get it on the books for the end of the financial year. But it really depends. To try and discern those sort of things, I would need a lot more information, and I don't think anyone has it. Like outside of like Bamco, like who knows what sort of pressure they're receiving to get something out. So yeah, we do need something shown. I'm happy that they're not dragging it out and just like trickling little bits of information, because that kind of sucks too. But at the same time, having 612 days go by since we really got anything is like, yeah, I just want a release date. Give me a release date. All else is details. Of course, I'd love to do some content, dissect, whatever they show us in the meantime, because that's part of the fun too for me, is sort of figuring out their development process. But really, as far as like the actual playing the game goes, just give me a release date. I'm good from there. Then at least I'll know. And they're pretty good at hitting their release dates. They don't usually have any major delays. So, but what do I think about the Elden Ring news channel? Mordecai and I are friends. We talk all the time. It is nothing against Mordecai, but because I follow my own, I watch stuff pretty closely. I've been doing Souls stuff since, on YouTube since Sekiro, and before then with Bloodborne. I don't watch them every day because, especially, you see it's 20 seconds, you know what it's going to be. But yeah, Mordecai and I are friends, and obviously seeing his success with getting something daily, I was like, well, I'm watching the trailer daily, and if he's posting 19 seconds, why don't I just go on and chat? Because otherwise, we're all just sitting in our individual spaces, not watching the trailer, and I think this is more fun. So yeah, I'm friends with Mordecai though, and I think he's struck gold, and I can't wait to see what he does once there's news out. We sort of pass stuff back and forth with each other's strategies for once we actually have news. So he's probably going to hit it right as it comes out, obviously the day of, and then tune into the Elden Ring so far series. I did like to do my more complete sounds a little condescending, but I like to do my sort of big wrap up snapshots a few weeks after we get big information. But yeah, so I think as far as the trailer, it has to be a gameplay trailer. Like if they gave us a cinematic, I'm fine with there being cutscenes in there, sort of like the gameplay trailer we saw for Sekiro at E3. But like it has to be like, if they give us another cinematic, people would be excited and then very quickly frustrated. I would be frustrated because while seeing a mixed up version, an edited version of the opening cinematic is fun, it's also like, I want to see the world we're actually going to be playing in. We haven't really seen the world we're going to inhabit, so it has to be gameplay. And they know that. They from everything I understand, they're fully aware that they need to deliver. And, as Omni had mentioned, he believes that they're going to deliver big when they do. And, that they're going to really hit the ground running because they know what they're working with. If they showed only a cinematic, I would be worried because as it is, with the weight, you've kind of been like, or at least I've been like, well, what did they have prepared? But then we heard that Phil Spencer had been playing it. And it had been a little while back. So obviously he had been playing it, but yeah, if a trailer dropped while we're all here, we're gonna. I'm sorry, I'll have to end the stream. We'll have to go watch it. Tune back in tomorrow. But I don't think the sky will be permanently red. And people said, oh, like especially as someone like watching the trailer every day, like what if the game comes out and it's bad? What if the game gets out and what if the game gets canceled? I don't see the game getting canceled because they've been putting too much development time in, and I don't see Namco being cool with that. I think that they would release whatever they could work on before they would release something canceled. And given the time they've spent, I think that they're getting it done right. And even if the game is like bad, like if somehow it ends up being bad and I don't like the lore, which is hard to imagine, it'll be an interesting failure because I love FromSoft. And either way, it's something for me to pick apart and analyze. I'll analyze it if it's good, analyze it if it's bad. It's stuff to talk about. And obviously, I want it to be good, but it's like, as far as my interests go in FromSoftware as a developer, there's not really like a situation where I'm like, well, oh shit, I did all this stuff and now it's ruined. There's something, and there's other games. Like I love, there's plenty of stuff I'm playing right now. I'm going through Kingsfield 4. I've been playing Monster Train. I got to get back to Blasphemous. I have a backlog a mile long, so Elden Ring's just going to push that aside. I'm not really pinning my hopes to it being anything, but that being said, I have the Elden Ring lore website I'm hoping to hit really hard and share community lore and to do tons of content on it. So I really hope that it's worthy of that, but we'll see what happens. But yeah, I'm not too worried. FromSoftware hasn't like had something terrible happen. As I mentioned in another video, like even my least favorite titles are still among my favorite games. Like I have issues with Dark Souls 3 and Dark Souls 2, but like they're still really good games, and I still put like, a lot of time in them, 100+ hours into those games, and that's a pretty good track record considering I don't think they're quite as good as their other titles for me. But yeah, so yeah, we'll see. The big thing for me as far as like what Bamco actually releases is like, are they going to do an event? There's been rumors, but like, I don't know. Like they have other titles, like yeah, Scarlet Nexus, and they have their Tales stuff. Like they have stuff, and they're being, besides showing off Scarlet Nexus a few times, they have a lot of stuff to show off, and I think a lot of publishers are adapting to this digital world that we've had to adapt to a much greater degree in the last year. So I wouldn't be surprised if they did something, but we'll see. But it's, all this stuff about trying to pin it to events, I'm not really sure. That's why I'm just hoping it shows up somewhere and I'll be there for it. But yeah, we'll see. Also, I have to say, just a small note, like there's someone in chat named Emilvaro, and if you're sleeping on Death's Gambit, maybe sleep a little longer, but it's a good game, and the developers are making just like a complete overhaul for Death's Gambit. I think it's worth checking it out now to then compare it to what they do after. But I've done some videos on the channel, and Death's Gambit is a really fun game, and it's actually a topic I've played around with, maybe doing a video or just the topic about. But Death's Gambit does something really cool with their feathers are kind of like their Estus, and what you can do is you can sort of like penalize yourself by like taking away Estus that you could be using, but it makes you stronger. You get like 10% stronger for each Estus you sort of sacrifice, and you can sort of tweak that. I just think it's a really fun system. It sort of goes into a larger topic for me about it'll be interesting to see like what the death mechanic it is in Elden Ring and how that sort of works for this title, because I don't think they're gonna, Sekiro mixed it up too, but I don't think they're gonna do something like the typical drop your souls, drop your experience, somewhere, and then you got to go get it back. It'll be really interesting to see what they do with some of those systems, because I think in the meantime, there's been a lot of indie developers and Souls-likes that have done interesting things in that space. And if From doesn't sort of iterate on that, I think it'll be a little bit disappointing for me if it's just like Estus, some version of Estus, and then some version of a Bloodstain. But I think they'll mix it up, because they mixed it up with Sekiro. What RPG mechanics do I want to see in Elden Ring? I mean, you know, I I'm I'm expecting it to be very Dark Souls in its base with your like sort of classic like D&D sort of stats. But I have to say, and this is a personal thing more than maybe something that I think would be an objective bonus. But I really like skills. I would really like them to like have some sort of skill tree still in Elden Ring, whether it's tied to weapon, just to give you that extra way of building out your character in interesting ways. Like Dark Souls, it's just adding the stats, choosing which weapon you use. But I really like to see them, you know, sort of give ways to make your character do interesting things that are along the lines of maybe some of what they did in Sekiro. Oh, hello, doggy. But yeah, like, but and maybe like I said, too generic for the skill tree. It's just who knows. It really depends, and I'm really interested. But I think if they went with the Dark Souls route of you're just dumping it into like these 5 stats, and then you have your typical weapon upgrades and your armor upgrades, like it wouldn't be disappointing because it's a system that kind of works. But it'd be interesting to see them play something else. Play in another thing, whether it's going into weapon skills, like something like that, like just to make your character, just give them something else to sort of do. And it would be, I personally would kind of like, and this is total speculation, so I kind of doubt this, but like I kind of want them to do something like a gem system, not like grinding through chalices, but I like the idea of being able to get these upgrades that you can transfer to weapons or to make them unique in ways that are more interchangeable, because I think that encourages experimentation, and I would be really interested in getting more experimentation out of the game than, like with Dark Souls, when you're upgrading the weapons, you're gonna have to grind for more upgrade materials, and I just like a way to make my weapons like a little more interesting without having it be a huge opportunity cost and then having to grind. So we'll see. Let's see. There's a few other questions. There's some good stuff. You guys are you guys are awesome. I'm sorry if I missed a question, but like you're talking about a lot of good stuff in chat here. But let's see. Sorry, I'm gonna miss something. I flag them, but then I lose them. Let's see. Dodge roll mechanic. It would be really hard. Like, I kind of prefer Bloodborne's like dash, and it is interesting talking about the dodge roll mechanic because, like, sort of responding a little bit to Fred Head's question to us. I'm much more of like a PVE person just because I love co-oping and I love getting invaded. I like that as a thing, but I do treat them mostly as single player games. So one thing when I'm playing, and I don't know if this is different for a PvPer, but like you end up just getting the heaviest armor that I can that meets the aesthetic I'm looking for, that fits so that I can do a fast roll. And I don't know where exactly you would take that, but it would be interesting to see heavy armor and light armor sort of serve different functions than to limit your ability to dash around. It makes a lot of sense, but it would be interesting to see them play with that, mostly because I think it would be fun to be able to be a bit tankier, and I just really hate the feel of the fat roll. And it's really hard for me not to roll in these games, but I think that's because everyone's decided like that's the optimal play style, and I would just like the game to maybe give me more reasons to try other stuff. Oh, and someone mentioned Magic. I think Magic is going to get a big overhaul just because, well, you look at it from the lore perspective, and like the lore is going to be different. And really, even though it ended up being like throwing fireballs or shooting a magic missile, I would like it to be something where, they're tapping into the lore again, but they find more interesting ways to do it. And I think that kind of goes back to wanting Magic to maybe have more utility or to have a system around it that sort of taps into being interesting like Melee. And just because I think it's basically an alternative ranged option in a lot of ways. And and with magic, or it's like buffing your weapon. But I'd really like it to maybe be something where it's challenging you in a more unique way, to sort of be an alternative to melee versus feeling like the easy mode. Just because I would like something like it's hard to come up with something, but like just more utility to it, more interesting spells, and a more interesting way for you to sort of interact and maybe make it more timing based. Like you fire something, you have to press again on impact. Just something where it's actually like making you do a little bit more, because when you're in melee, you're dodging, you're rolling, you're responding to attacks, and in magic, you're mostly just you're just standing there and kind of strafing around. So I hope you liked my little magic foley there, but just a way to make it more interesting. Just make it more of an alternative system, and it does seem like being a more high fantasy world that magic will be more part of it, like the shattering from a lore perspective affected the world in a way where stuff has gone kind of crazy, and I hope that leans into the magic. But yeah, so it's and I hope even that ranged combat is more interesting. I don't have huge hopes for it, because I think ranged can be a nice just like alternative, like tactically. Because one thing I think will be really interesting is, you're going to think about something like Breath of the Wild, or like, any sort of open world game where you're going to come across these like camps of enemies, I'm thinking, and you're going to fight them. And so it'd be cool to, pull out your bow, you plink a few from range, you draw them over. Like, it's going to make more sense to have a more versatile character. So I think that would be fun. And imagine a level up system like Skyrim. It's kind of interesting. I'm playing Kingsfield 4 now, and in Kingsfield 4 you level up by hitting stuff. Like I've been hitting stuff with my short sword skill goes up. I get hit, my health stat goes up. It's kind of an archaic older system, but it is interesting, and part of the reason I'm going back through Kingsfield is because I want to see what From has sort of experimented with before, and it's before Miyazaki, but like they make a lot of there's a lot of references in Dark Souls that are straight up references to the Kingsfield games. So if you haven't played them and you have the ability to emulate, or if you have a PS2, like Kingsfield 4, it's just an interesting thing for anyone who's really interested in FromSoftware to get some of that history, because it's very Souls-like for not having Miyazaki involved, just with the intentionality of the combat. It's first person, of course, so it's pretty different, but it is interesting. They've been doing this very intentional combat for a long time, so it's pretty interesting. It'll be interesting to see if the Moonlight Greatsword makes a return. I think the mythology will be less self-referential, but the story, we'll probably have like a patches of Moonlight Sword. I don't know if they're more nervous about doing that after they put stuff into Deracine and then people were screaming Bloodborne 2. It seemed like Miyazaki was a little bit disappointed in that, but will Eternal Ring and Elden Ring have similar lore? Probably not. It's just the FromSoftware likes like 6 words, and they like to put them in their titles. So I think but interestingly, the Eternal Ring isn't a ring on your finger, even though the game is all about getting these like magic rings. The Eternal Ring is a prison for this, like, spoilers, I guess, for whenever that game came out. It's a prison for like this like baby god who's like a child and doesn't understand, so they put him in this like weird eternal ring to sort of just keep him like frozen in time. So I'm sure that Elden Ring will similarly, like Miyazaki's already mentioned, it's more of a concept, but he loves like doing double entendres and plays with words, so it's gonna have multiple meanings, I'm assuming, just like Bloodborne, other stuff. So he likes those sort of plays with words. But yeah, it's I think magic being more of a utilitarian would be really nice. Yeah, and going into the horseback riding, I do kind of, I do kind of wonder. A Kiwi gentleman mentioned if the horse is like summonable or like how that works. I think for ease of use, it'll be something like Ghost of Tsushima, or I would kind of like that because I liked the horse in Ghost of Tsushima. It didn't really get in the way and it kind of worked for you. I do hope that maybe horse combat works, and if it doesn't work, just make it kind of something that doesn't get in the way, because a bad horse is kind of disappointing. But I think from sort of showed us with Sekiro, they can drastically play with systems like, grappling around, swimming, and do a really surprisingly good job with those systems. So I'm excited to see what they're able to do with the horse and just sort of how that plays into the world, because it'll be interesting, because when you're riding around the world, what you can do with the horse, hopefully you can customize it. But then with these like dungeon castle things Miyazaki mentioned, I don't know how often there'll be sort of dungeons, but it'll be interesting to see, like, does that going to feel very soulsy once you get into these dungeons, and then the world is where it feels a little fresher. So it'll be interesting to see. I do hope they play with the foundational mechanics enough to just make it interesting. So yeah, it's interesting. And you make a good point, Alexandros. Ghost of Tsushima is a really good open world game that does open world game stuff. It's really gorgeous, but it's not mixing it up. And I do think From is more likely to have like a weird take on it in a good way. I don't think they're not really, they don't follow trends. They sort of do their own thing. So I'm really excited to see how they do it. And, I hope there's some sort of armor or something for the horse, or some storage stuff. I'd love to customize my horse. And as far as, Lovecraftian stuff, there'll be something kind of Lovecraftian between George R. R. Martin and From. They like that stuff. And, I think with Omni mentioning like a barrier between worlds that has like fallen or weakened, that we'll get some like that sounds to me like some sort of Lovecraftian potential. So I think it'll be in there. Roaming bosses. I'm hoping that we get some big boys, some like cool big sort of monstrous bosses, because as Mitch Kohler mentioned, like I don't mind like story spoilers really. Like, I like to piece together the story, and usually they're opaque enough where it's hard to like super spoil it. But one thing I don't love being spoiled on, and we'll see what I end up looking at with the trailers, is like boss designs and enemy designs, because that's a huge portion of what I love about From, is just how good they are coming up with the weirdest, coolest monster designs. So I'm really looking forward to some big monstrous bosses, some small weird creatures, some cool, armored dudes, just everything. Because that's one thing about Sekiro. I love Sekiro, but yeah, I didn't get enough of that cool monster design that I really like about their games. There'll definitely be dragons for sure. I just, between George R. R. Martin and From, like, there's no way they're not gonna have dragons in there. So, and Omni mentioned enemies that like pursue you. I was thinking like ring wraith style, and I would love that. Like, just riding along the plains, being pursued by some weird thing on horseback. Like, oh, that sounds like a lot of fun. It's probably more cinematic in my head than it will be in reality, but I'm hoping for something like that, to just be like relentlessly pursued across the expanse. So I think that would be awesome. On horse, on dragon, I don't know, that might be too much, but just something like chasing you across the world sounds really fun. But yeah, there we go. So I think it's time to watch this announcement trailer. I'm feeling hyped up. This has been a really good chat. Sorry if I missed your question. Y'all have been great. This has really encouraged me to probably do this again sometime, because this was great. But let's get into the trailer. Time to put my headphones on and enjoy the music. they do. If like my recommendation is don't watch the release trailer. I might just because of what I do with content, but don't do it. Don't watch the release trailer. It's too spoilery. It's not worth it seeing a cool boss. George R. R. Martin. Can't wait to see what he does with the mythology. Ooh, no sound? You can hear me, but not the trailer? Oh no. I can't deny you the sound. Jeez. Let's see. Oh god. I knew I'd run into something technical. Let's see. We have to get you this sound. It sounds all right. Let's figure out why you're not getting the sound. Oh yeah. That's the nice thing is I can just redo it. I can't mess up this part. Let's see. Let's see. Get the sound. Okay. All right. Okay. Tell me if you can hear the sound now. Yeah, let's...
Brilliance. The Elden Ring. Oh, Elden Ring.
You can hear it now? Oh, thank God. It was audio tracks. Okay, let's not get ahead of ourselves. Okay. Good. I have to give everyone the sound. I doubt you could even hear it. Yeah, spoilers. Elden Ring has no sound. That would make me so sad. This music's so good. Yeah, I could just recite the trailer anyways, but, you know, it's less fun that way. You don't want the Lore Hunter sound effects mod.
I doubt you could even imagine it. That which commanded the stars, giving life its fullest brilliance. The Elden Ring. Oh, Elden Ring. Shattered by someone or something. Don't tell me you don't see it. Look up at the sky. It burns.
It's like the one partial landscape we get. And the animated logo music's good too. I hope it's like this in the game. There we go. Day 612. That voice is good. I hope, like, if this is a cut-up version of the opening, I hope there's twice as much and that dude's a character in the game because, whew, it's good shit. I think he has a really great delivery. Or maybe I've listened to it 612 plus times and now I'm gone insane, but... Or both. I think it's all true. It's a great delivery though. That and the music. So we'll be popping off in a minute, but I would love there to be some music in the world. Maybe not constantly, but I think an open world game lends itself towards some like ambient music. So I just had to say that before signing off because that one cool thing about Dark Souls is how quiet and atmospheric it is, but like I don't the music. I just think it could be really good, even if it's just like some enemy music. I think Sekiro didn't have the most memorable music, but it was still good stuff. And when that battle theme hit, it's still good. I think I will be doing some more stuff with Omni. He enjoyed coming on, and I think he wants to do a little bit more stuff. I didn't want to have him on too often, and especially if there's nothing new to talk about. So I've been sort of holding that, but actually, if you guys are interested in getting any clarifications about stuff he's written or anything he said, he's not going to like leak out extra stuff, but we have talked about maybe doing an episode where you guys submit some questions for clarifications, and I'd have a great time talking with him about it because I'll probably learn some stuff too, just to sort of tease that out. So yeah, feel free to submit, any clarifications from what he's written about that you might be interested in. I'll have him on again and we'll have a good chat. So, Hermanos, I'm thinking April. Maybe we'll see. I could be wrong. I don't know anything special, but we'll see. Yeah. So, but yeah. So this has been really good. I had a really great time answering questions, and I'll put something up next time. It might be like a similar thing, like a Wednesday. I'll do another live. It'd be fun to maybe do this like once a week. We'll have to hash that out, but enjoyed hanging out with y'all, and this was really fun. So, yeah, tune in tomorrow for day 613 of watching the trailer. But there we go. Have a good night.